Welcome to the Business of Becoming, a podcast for soul led leaders, sacred disruptors, and anyone who knows they were never meant to settle. I'm Sabrina Riley, and I'm not here to teach you how to play the game. I'm here to remind you that you were built to change the world, starting with you. This is a space for transmissions, not templates, for the work beneath the work, for remembering who you are, what you carry, and why you're still here. Once you hit play, you're part of this heart centered business movement too. Who we are becoming will change business as we know it, and it will change the world. Hey, friends, thank you so much for joining me here this week. I am so excited to share some stories with you, to share some updates with you, and ultimately to share things that are going to make a huge difference in your life as well, that are going to help you up level in your business, that are going to help you become a new version of yourself. So, this week, I want to talk to you about self doubt because even when we know so much, even when we have the right answers already, we still doubt ourselves sometimes. And I think I'd already shared a little bit with you, but I had been struggling for quite some time. I was a little bit frustrated with how business was going for me the past couple months since I left my finance career in April. And to an extent, I think I was a little bit impatient with certain things and I wasn't as ready for it to be as difficult as it was. But there were also things that I had to move through that I didn't expect to have to heal and move through within this certain period of time to be able to show up as this version for you. And I also didn't expect to have the massive doubt that I had. I didn't expect to have the massive lack of clarity and misalignment. I genuinely thought possibly by May or especially by June, things would be moving along at least at a decent pace. And truthfully, not a whole lot has happened. Now, I do have to be conscious of the fact that a lot has happened internally, but what I mean is I haven't seen a lot happen financially. Now, I haven't seen anything bad happen. It's not like something's been ripped away from me, but something clearly still wasn't clicking. And so I've been struggling with that a lot recently, including whether or not I was going to continue doing the consulting work, including whether or not the business was going to look exactly like it currently does, and I just knew something was off. But I kept getting signs that I was close to getting the clarity I needed, that I was close to moving through some of the things that I was working on. So I tried to be patient and I tried to slow down because that's also what I'm teaching you. If I'm out here saying we need to be, heart centered, we need to love what we do, we need to be in integrity with ourselves. We need to be accountable to ourselves. We need to nourish ourselves. We need to be capable of working at a different pace and not hustling the same way that we were taught to. If we're going to do all of these things differently, and I'm going to try to be a leader in that, then I also have to do those things myself. And I want you to know that even as you feel uncomfortable starting to learn how to do some of these things, like slowing down and not working yourself to death all the time, I'm struggling in the same way that you are. And sometimes it really does creep up on you because, like I said, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to struggle to slow down so much. I didn't expect to struggle through healing some of these things so much. I definitely didn't expect to struggle with clarity so much. I thought when I left my job in April that I really had a lot of clarity and I thought I was ready to go. But the fact is that I wasn't, and I probably should have taken some time for myself, and I didn't. And I kind of jumped in right away. And so now here we are where I'm talking to you when I have the most clarity that I've had possibly ever. All of a sudden, things have changed this week. And I also want to let you know before I really jump into the details of what happened and how you might also move through the doubt and the clarity is it can happen for you at any moment. And you really have to shift towards that mindset, not in a way where you're forcing yourself to think, oh, I can make $1 million tomorrow. Because ultimately, your brain and essentially like the spiritual energies and like spiritual realms don't line up if you're just pretending. So you can't tell yourself something that you just don't believe entirely. You do have to kind of work through some of that leveling up. You might tell yourself, it could happen for me at any moment twice this week, and you might barely believe it. You might tell yourself 5 times next week, and you might start to believe it a little bit more. But you have to be okay with the fact that you're not necessarily going to change your mindset, or you're going to essentially force your nervous system to build more capacity and to feel more comfortable right now. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it tomorrow. And so, because I've been sitting with a lot of hard feelings and because I've faced things very head on, I've made changes that would have previously taken months or years in weeks or days. And the pacing doesn't really matter. It's not that one's right or wrong. It doesn't matter if it would have taken me months and I would have had to figure out some other way to make money or survive or whatever. Like, if that's what this journey was for me, then that is what it is. I don't want you to beat yourself up as I'm saying this. I just want you to know that it's possible to move through things very quickly. And as you're growing, one of the signs that you'll notice that can maybe help you with the self-doubt is you'll realize how much quicker you're moving through something than you would have before. And trust me, you'll know what I'm talking about. I get that you can't know exactly how something would have happened, but trust me, you'll know if you would have spiraled because of a particular thing happening. You'll know if, you know, not getting paid by clients for an entire month would have just like ruined you for the rest of the year, but instead you found a way to move through that discomfort and grow through that within a few days. You'll be able to see that, and I promise you, you're growing, and you've done so much more than you even realize, and you're already much more capable than you realize. So, to bring you into more of what happened, so I've had kind of a few things coming to a head, if you will. I have struggled to feel worthy. I have struggled to feel like I deserve anything, especially financial abundance, without a lot of suffering. And I would even say, even without the suffering, I still didn't necessarily believe I deserved it. But I believed if I was going to get anything, it was going to be through a lot of pain and suffering, and it was going to be through just like me getting like cracked open, me just like, think like laying on the bathroom floor, just like, okay, I give up, like, universe, like, whatever you need. And so I was doing that with money, and then I was also really doing that with clients as well. When I would show up to this podcast or I would show up on LinkedIn or whatever, I didn't necessarily believe that you were going to hear me or you were going to see me or my message was going to resonate with you. I had these beliefs in the back of my mind that eventually I would become the version of myself that was capable, but I just kept telling myself I wasn't there yet. And because I knew I was bumping up against these things, like I knew I was still bumping up against this scarcity, and that maybe I had even built the business off of that scarcity, and that I wasn't supposed to be doing this consulting at all. That just really messed with me because I didn't know left from right. I felt like I was just in like complete darkness in like within myself. I didn't know I didn't know where the path was. I didn't even know what the next step was. And so I really had to slow down in a way that was extremely uncomfortable. And I had to sit with a lot of things. Like I had to sit with feelings about my own worth and how much I've gone through in the past few weeks. And it was very, very tender. But I sat there anyway because I knew exactly what that was going to do. I knew that I wanted to show up differently here for you. So the thing that really started to catalyze all of the self-doubt and catalyze all of the issues, besides the fact that I was healing through just sitting with my feelings and just kind of letting them happen, not trying to do anything about it, not trying to avoid it, not trying to fix it, not anything like that. I started seeing some videos on TikTok, especially, and actually I saw a couple LinkedIn posts. So I saw some social media posts and videos that really struck me, and it was things related to, we need your voice. The world needs your voice. You need to step up and you need to share. And obviously that sounds really general, but one thing you'll notice is when you slow down, whether it's clarity for business or it's clarity for other personal things, I mean, all of it's really kind of one and the same. When you slow down, what you'll notice is that the words or phrases that are used will connect with you even if they seem meaningless otherwise. Like, to you, someone seeing a video that says like you have to share your voice, like we need you, may not hit the same way. It may make you consider moving forward and sharing more of your story or starting a business or becoming a leader or whatever it is, but it may not activate you in a certain way. It may not just really trigger something very specific. I would even call it like it's, you're not going to feel it in your bones. You're just not going to feel it in your heart the same way. But when I was hearing and seeing these posts, it was resonating with me so deeply, and I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, they do need me, and I'm still not showing up the way that I need to be showing up. And I was like, okay, we have got to figure this out. I cannot wait any longer. I need to show up. So July 4th comes around, and I didn't really have any plans. I was just going to sit at the pool all day. I don't particularly care for July 4th for various reasons. Um, and I didn't have any friends, at least like as of the week of July 4th, that had asked me to come do anything with them. So I was like, I'm just gonna relax. I'm not gonna do any work, or I may do a few things, but I'm mostly just gonna sit by the pool and relax and just not really think about any of this. So I start thinking, maybe I'll post a video on TikTok before I go out to the pool. The reason why I was thinking that, besides the fact that I had been seeing all of these things that were telling me to share my voice, is because I have this belief that the way that we show up, the whole reason why this podcast is called The Business of Becoming, is because who we are is all that really matters, in a sense. We don't necessarily need to worry about anything else besides our energy in this moment. Yes, sometimes we're going to learn new things or we're going to research or whatever. Like, yes, there is likely going to be some doing, but the being and the becoming is so much more profound than we can even imagine. And so, knowing that, I have, for at least a year now, wanted to talk more about this in a political and like activist sort of way, to really let people know, especially because there's people that don't feel safe going to the protest. There's people that don't necessarily feel safe speaking up in a big way. There's some people that don't feel safe making the video or whatever. And I'm not saying, and there's certainly people who don't feel safe throwing the brick. And I'm not saying that any one thing is right or wrong, including throwing the brick, because I'm not going to judge that the way that some people do. And so I really wanted to get that message out there because that message is so universal and powerful. And it's also really timely right now with what's happening politically, especially in the US. So I decide on July 4th that I'm going to talk about this. And I basically just made this video saying, like, I know some people aren't going to like what I have to say, but like, here it is. And I made this like 7.5 minute video, and it did very well for what I've had on TikTok so far. It had like 100 likes. I think it had like 25 comments. It had like 30 or 40 saves. And that's not anything astronomical. The post didn't go quote unquote viral, but it just hit me. because if there was ever anything that I had shared where not only did I share vulnerably and authentically, but I shared powerfully. And that was the difference because I've been sugarcoating a lot of what I have to say, and I haven't been speaking nearly as powerfully as I could. Now, I still have to do that compassionately. I still have to have love behind this, but I had not been doing nearly enough of that. And so I finally did it. I finally let it rip, and it's completely different metrics than any other post. And that showed me that it really resonated. That showed me that it really made a difference. And I said, okay, my voice is finally getting more powerful. We're really doing something here. So I took that, and in the past few days, because I'm recording this on the 9th, I'm only recording this 5 days later, and I can't even believe that. It feels like it's at least been a couple weeks, if not a month, since that happened. I started posting with much more power because ultimately that's what's authentic to me. What is not authentic to me is trying to be as gentle as I possibly can. There is a time and a place for that, but that is not mostly what I am here to do. I am mostly here to say really shocking, really difficult things like, and often it's just to help you remember who you really are. But that was the thing that really started to ignite the fire and had me thinking, okay, we're making some real progress. And me showing up that way and seeing what happened was validation that I kind of needed. But at the same time, it happened because I wasn't worried about what the post did. I said the thing I wanted to say, regardless of who looked at it, regardless of what the responses were. And the responses were positive because I was confident and authentic and vulnerable with what I had to say. So then, July 5th, July 6th, July 7th, I'm still kind of lost. I know it's almost there. I know I'm about to have so much more clarity, but I still just have so much self doubt inside of me. And I'm just so worried that I'm going to screw something up with the business, or the podcast isn't going to get traction soon enough, or I'm not going to get more followers on LinkedIn soon enough, or whatever. So I was having some conversations with ChatGPT, which I think I've told you before that I do quite often. It knows far too much about me. And I'm okay with that because I find it helpful for me. It's the way that I like to use it. I ask it a lot of big questions. I I really dig into me in that space. And so I forget what I asked it, but I think I asked it something, and I was using my human design, which is something that I it knows everything about my chart, and it's something that I often do because I love to see what is the unbiased answer. What is supposedly the answer because of what happened in the cosmos when I was born, or when I became my true self, because I also go off of that date for certain things as well. Just, what am I supposedly here to be? What am I here to learn? What am I here to do? And I love how unbiased those tools are because those tools are not steeped in my self doubt. Those tools are not steeped in my shadow, in my frustration, in my lack of clarity. The answers are just sitting there waiting for me, which is why I use these tools with clients as well, because they're so powerful. And sure enough, it made so much sense. What have I learned through that I could potentially be here to teach others? And previously, I had thought maybe it was around being alive, or it was not settling, or it was like transformation. And in a way, it kind of is all of those things. But if I had to distill it down to something that makes sense, especially in terms of quote unquote business, I am here to help people trust the knowing that is inside of them, because I have done that a million times over. I literally do not spend a single day second guessing my trans experience, wondering if this is really who I'm supposed to be, wondering if I'm gonna look more like I want to physically tomorrow than I do today, wondering if my body's gonna feel better tomorrow than it does today. None of it. I have had my moments, but by and large, I do not think twice about it. Even when I want to like add a new medication or change something, I literally just listen to my body and then I do the thing. I do that with my, call it my physical and even maybe spiritual self, as confidently as anyone, as confidently as like a billionaire like CEO or something like that. And yet here I am in my business wondering when I'm going to have clarity, wondering if everything's going to work out, wondering if I'm going to be seen, wondering if I'm going to actually make a difference, wondering if I'm just crazy. And all of the things that ChatGPT said to me regarding that just blew my mind because I thought to myself, I already know the answers. I already know how to show up in a way where I don't need the validation, where I don't need the answer right away, where I just know how to keep taking the next step. And I know that it's all going to unfold in the most beautiful way. And I'm not doing that with my business. And I was like, what am I doing? Why am I not bringing this mastery in this one area over to this other area? And also, why am I not bringing that to my clients? So that's what I'm doing now because there's so much noise out there. And I already know what it means to be able to trust what you feel in your body because there is so much more wisdom there than you can possibly imagine. No one else has the answer for you. Someone else might have something that's going to help you remember more of who you are or help reflect something back to you. So other people are still important. You can still learn from other people. It's not, this isn't just me saying, like, go directly to your human design or your astrology and like never listen to any advice anyone else has. But you have to know who you are and you have to know essentially what is your gut response. It's different types of responses in your body. It's not only your quote unquote gut, but if we were to use the way that most people refer to that inner knowing, you essentially have to know what that feels like for you as an individual. You have to be able to recognize it so that when you read a book or when you see a post or when you see a video and somebody gives some advice, you know if it's for you or not because you can feel that place in your body where it's resonating and you can feel the way that it's resonating and you know exactly what that means. You know then that that's for you or that's not for you, and you're not just out here just taking anybody's advice or just listening to literally everything that you could possibly be listening to, because that's not going to be helpful for anyone. And so that's what I was stuck in, and I got myself out of it, one, by using the inner knowing that I already have, and two, by realizing the mastery I have in another area can be applied to this area. And that is the other thing that I really hope you can have as a takeaway to this, because I have seen it happen so many times recently. I'm still working through this in intimate relationships. Why in intimate relationships I show up as like a completely different human that's just like broken and afraid, and it's like, yeah, I do still have to respect, where is my nervous system? What happened to me that caused me to maybe still be 15-year-old Sabrina in a relationship? Like, that's very real. I'm not saying this mastery in other areas is like a bypass for your self-doubt. Like, you're still gonna have to go through it. You're still gonna have to at least sit with the feelings or do something to soothe yourself. But it's just the knowing that you already have the answers, and you probably have already displayed the fact that you have the answers and the mastery somewhere else. So whenever you're doubting yourself so much, look at another area of your life and see, where have I already done this correctly? Where have I already showed up the way I want to show up in this area? Where have I already learned how to show up personally? And I could just bring that over here to the business, because chances are you've already learned some of the lessons. And if you haven't, then that's okay too. But you have to give yourself credit for the mastery that you already have. And you also have to figure out how to listen. Because if you are not listening to your body, you will always find yourself lost at some point in the future. I guarantee I'm still going to get frustrated with this and I'm going to find myself lost. But the difference is, I'm not going to get lost for 6 months. I'm going to get lost for 6 days. And then I'm going to realize it and I'm going to move on because it is. I have a lot of self awareness and it's very obvious to me when I am not showing up as myself. And now it is even more obvious to me when I am not showing up with the mastery and the inner knowing that I already have. So if you don't have that, please reach out to me. Please go grab your human design chart. Go grab an astrology chart. Like, do something. And I'm not recommending a personality test. I'll just say that right now. That is not an equivalent to what I am saying. A personality test or something like that is not going to give you any sort of inner knowing. I am talking about the tools that are out there that really help you to learn how to work with the energy in your body. And there is not one right or wrong tool, but there are many of them that are amazing and unbiased. And I specifically love things like astrology and human design because it is differentiated. It is literally you. It is not just, hey, here's how this might feel, and here's how you might, you know, do something with it, which is kind of what energy work is, depending on how someone teaches it to you. If, like, let's say someone teaches in a group setting, they're not really tailoring anything to you. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be helpful. But if you don't then know how to go home and work with that energy and work with that inner knowing, then that's not the thing that you need at the moment. You need to learn this in whatever differentiated way connects with you, because that is the only way you're ever going to actually have peace. You cannot have peace if you don't know that you will always be okay. And you can't possibly know that you're always going to be okay if you don't know what it feels like to be supported by the universe, if you don't know what it feels like to be connected to that inner knowing, to be connected to more heart centered knowing and getting out of the mind, because the mind will always mess with you. Your ego will always fight to the death. You will always be prone to overthinking or getting anxious or trying to get back into survival mode. That is never going to go away completely. But when you know the difference, when you know what it feels like when you are at peace, when you know what it feels like when you just feel it in your bones, you will then also know what it doesn't feel like, and you will be able to identify that so much more quickly, and that is going to help you more than you can possibly imagine right now. So thank you for sticking with me all the way until the end. Again, I love doing this podcast. I love having you here, and I genuinely hope this makes such a massive difference in your life. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I am never here to sell anyone anything or to push anyone towards something. If you feel called to work with me, I would absolutely love to do that. But more than anything, if this ever resonates with you and you just want to reach out, or you want to connect, or you want to follow, or whatever, please do it. I absolutely love when I get to connect with you and I get to hear the feedback that you have about my work and about my content. Because as we talked about last week, we all need that validation sometimes. We all need people to reflect things back to us and help us to see how powerful and amazing we truly are. And I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have some really amazing people doing that for me. So just know that it means more to me than anything when you reach out. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And I know for sure that I was not the only one moving through this massive self doubt recently. I know that you're going through it too. And I really hope that you find the clarity that you're looking for sooner rather than later. But always know you're going to find the clarity that you're looking for in the timing that you were meant to find it. and that is okay. If it's not tomorrow, it's not going to be the end of the world. You will still find your path. You will still do everything that you're here to do. I know that you will. All right, friends. Thank you. I love you so much.